Welcome back to the channel, you kooks. Today we're working on a client's van, a fellow van kook that has purchased an E350, and he wanted the starter package where the most intimidating work goes down: the framing, not putting holes to the side of your van, electricity, hooking up your solar, running everything behind the wall so it looks really hidden and professional. So we finished this and we're going to show you how we got here. So we're going to show you how we did the walls with tongue and groove, the ceiling with tongue and groove. We've never really used this much tongue and groove other than just the ceiling, but the client really wanted tongue and groove all throughout. And this is our first time working with the 1/2 inch tongue and groove, and we really like it. So we're going to show you how we did it and show you how fast of a job it is. Today's day 3, and we're working on the solar panels and we're working on the ceiling. And right now we are going to start staining this pine paneling, or pine tongue and groove. And he had a couple choices that he was going over. One was the cedar that we're used to working with, and he had done a couple swatches on both, left them outside for a little bit to dry and everything, and we went back to look at it so he could show us which swatches, and he noticed that the cedar was kind of warping a bit. So he wanted to make sure that the ceiling was just in there for the time of the van and that there was no warping going to go on. So he chose the pine tongue and groove, and hopefully it flexes. That's one thing that I'm nervous with, is whether it'll flex to the van. That's why we like the cedar, because it's cedar and you know, like 1/4 inch plywood for the walls, because it does flex to the curve of the van. When you get this really thick material, it isn't as flexible. You'll have really rigid stuff to work with. So hopefully we can work through all those kinks as they come along. Yeah, so Kevin's working on the solar and I'm gonna start painting this, so here we go. So Kevin is putting on the second coat, and while we're letting that dry, this should have dried. So we're gonna move on over to this and put the clear satin up, and then we're gonna move on to the furring strips.
All right, we're working on tongue and groove ceilings. We're kind of taking a break on the framing for now, just to start something new. You'll need a miter saw, a nail gun, preferably a finishing nail gun, and you'll need your 2x4 planks. These are pine, about 1/2 inch. And I'll show you some tricks while we go here. Danny said 2x4, I meant tongue and groove.
Yeah, tongue and groove.
Like she never says anything wrong.
Right now I'm tracing the template for the light. I made a template out of duct tape. I just went to the back of the light and then put duct tape on the back, and then I cut it out around the edge. So this is about how big the light will actually fit in and cover any kind of like wonky cut you do when you do it this way. So now that I have my template traced onto the wood on the back side, I'm going to cut it out. Also, the jigsaw is what you use when you have no hole saw. Right now I'm putting on the second coat of the shellac, and like we said, this is the first time we've used this, but we really like it. We might use it more often because it dries like in 30 minutes. Like once I'm done with all of them, I can come back and it's dry to the touch, and I can start on my next coat. So I'm on my second coat now.
All right, so when you're working on your tongue and groove, a nice little technique is use a little bit of your scrap to get what we like to call a beater board, and then just smack that thing into place and it'll bring your joints closer.
So since these are interlocking, if you do staple them both, it will be hard to wedge your other piece in there. So we only staple the first one, wedge our second piece, staple.
Yeah, and also just be aware of your nail line when you're doing this. It can get sloppy, so just keep it straight and make sure you're putting all the nails in the same way. Keep it nice and clean. All right, the ceiling's all taken care of. Now we're working on the walls, and we'll show you on the other wall how Danny got the perfect scribe line in the back. So we're gonna start with this. We're gonna start with some liquid nail just for safety. And then we're gonna get into, we're gonna attach them all with our 16 gauge finish nailer here.
A lot of people are putting wood to metal out there and they're not separating it, so don't be a kook. You don't want a rusty van after a couple years and toothpicks that break apart because they're touching your metal.
Yeah, and also if you want to see how we did the installation, we got a few videos on that. It's a really easy task, and I think this is one of the better ways to do it. You guys can leave your comments on what you think about that. But yeah, check these videos out. They're very helpful.
So right now I'm working on the passenger side of the van, and I'm using the same template that I used on the other side, and I made sure that it worked over there. And what I'm doing is I'm laying the template down on all the boards, and I'm cutting my angle first, and then I'll cut the straight edge as we put it in there. So this is how our template got our wall to turn out pretty tight. I'm happy with it.
We're putting on the last of the tongue and groove. We had to add a bit more framing, so we threw down some vertical pieces in between our horizontals so we can get that wheel well. You can see on this side we got some of it done, and then we added those as well. So we've been adding more framing and getting these walls in, but it's looking really good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got all the walls in. It's quite a bit of work, but it looks really nice. We're gonna do some work over there in that corner if we can get to it.
It's gonna be tile though. That's why
Yeah, he's gonna tile that area, so we are gonna put a piece of 1/2-inch material in there. But yeah, we had to do a lot of rips on the table saw, and we got this new he has this Hercules Harbor Freight table saw, and it actually does a pretty good job. So this is a decent option if you need a cheap table saw, not anything serious like a Ethan shop. But yeah, the progress is coming along.
Yeah, we really like working with these 1/2-inch. They really just cover the space pretty quickly and span the space long. They're great. Like, you don't have any cracks here, they just go straight across because they're 10-footers.
All right, Danny's matching the templates to the plywood for the back door panels, and we are pretty much wrapped up in here. All the tongue and groove and framing is done, and the power's hooked up. It's gonna be one happy van soon. All right, guys, thanks for watching. As we did the tongue and groove on this van, the outcome looks great. We're actually really stoked. We're very impressed with our work. Can kind of just show you some of the edges, how nice everything came out. We got this nice piece we ripped on the saw there. It's kind of diagonal and funky. Also, Danny just scribed this piece here on the edge, and they're gonna do a tile here, so we just cut them out some plywood, and it looks really nice. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. Like and subscribe. And also, you can always help support us. You can purchase some of our merch. We do all the designs for our merch ourselves. Danny actually does it. So yeah, if you guys want to check it out, remember, adventure before dementia, and we'll see you guys next time.